Hello, Chief. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So I have this fabulous bio of yours, and I really wanted to read all of it, but through our conversations, I'm not going to because we have limited time today, and I really think that a lot of it's going to come out in our conversation.
For sure.
So, your name is Alma Burke, and you are in California currently. And I'm just going to highlight a little bit of this. You joined the Los Angeles Police Department in January 1996. You had a varied career through all of the fun stuff that we like to do when we're younger. And then as you moved up through the ranks, you took on a lot more responsibility. And what I have to mention is you made history as the first woman of color to become the Assistant Chief of Operations at the University of Southern California. And as one woman to another, thank you so much for everything that I know you had to accomplish to do that. And then again, we could go on and on and on of all your dedication, your commitment to empowering young minds, young women, women to include diversity. You advocate for women in law enforcement, and you have a plethora of awesomeness that follows your name here that we'll get into. And you are currently you have your own company, Burke Consulting Group, LLC, and this company highlights your extensive experience in the public safety arena, offers exceptional leadership training courses, and shares your insights into building powerful and long-lasting law enforcement community engagement and organizational change. So,
Thank you.
and there's so much more behind that. But again, that's going to come up in our conversation. Is there anything? Oh, before we keep going, for people who are this is the first time they're watching, I am Kimberly Stratman, a retired Dallas police officer. I was for Dallas, worked for Dallas for 30 years. My husband is still an active SWAT officer. He's been there 34 years. And I too have gone on from law enforcement to form a company that still serves the community and serves women in law enforcement. Is there anything else you want them to know about you before we jump in?
No, I think we'll get into it and we'll learn about each other. And I'm just excited to be here with you.
Thank you. And we do have a hard stop time because you're so generous with your time and you're fitting us in. And I'm actually up in the mountains right now, so I look like I look in the mountains. But I can't,
Beautiful.
thank you.
Beautiful.
I can't pass up this opportunity. You and I have talked over the phone about when going through your career, the stuff that you've done, and then when you started thinking about what you wanted to do in retirement. What would you like to tell current female first responders of what they could be thinking about or how they could be aligning their career, their life, their time to carry them through a successful career into retirement?
So this has been kind of a hot topic recently. I've been asked this question several times. So Kimberly, you're right on it with having this type of podcast is to talk about like we are built just so differently as men and women in this line of work, right? We're so purposeful. We go to work. I get so much energy from people when everyone would ask me like, what did you enjoy about law enforcement? I enjoyed everything about it. It was a bumpy road. It was a wild roller coaster ride. But one of the key takeaways was knowing that I am a high functioning individual. That means like I am a constant learner. I constantly, if I'm making mistakes, I'm learning ways to adapt and change, and change becomes a bad word in law enforcement, right? Some people just absolutely hate that. Well, I embrace it, and I embrace it because it is really important that we take what we learned out on the field and then we kind of bottle it up special, right? Because everyone has different experiences, right? I had the privilege of working homicide and some other specialized units. um, I was a leader in, supervisor in 6 of those specialized units throughout the city. And I will tell you that just in learning about my own mistakes, right? And saying, I need to be more educated. I need to be in more spaces. I need to be in focus groups. And I need to talk to people that have diverse backgrounds, because I'm
Mhm.
a first generation Latina. first one to go to college, first one, hopefully in a year to get my doctorate degree. But I just know that all of those first means that there is pressure, and with pressure comes privilege, right? We have to be able to hone in on that. And so when I was trying to make the decision of like where I was going to go after law enforcement, it naturally, with phone calls and people reaching out asking me, would you love to come be our keynote? Would you like to come and speak here? Would you like to teach this class? And all of a sudden I said, wow, okay, I'm bottling this up into 6 components. Why not start a company, right? I have the support. I picked up 3 major clients in the first year. Like, how amazing. I didn't even expect that. And it wasn't like me cold calling anyone, right? It was people reaching out to me. They were people that were in support of me. And I'm just so, so blessed that I get to manage my day for the most part, right? Mondays are a little crazy, as you found out, Kimberly. But they're all in spaces of what I value, right? They're all in giving back, employee wellness. You and I talked about like, how do you take care of yourself while you're in law enforcement so that when you do retire, you now have this self-awareness that in that first year, and I'll openly share this, that first year of removing yourself from the day-to-day, the 24 hours, the 2 phones, all of that. There is a moment, you're coming down from your fight or flight, right? Of like, oh my God, this decision could impact, a multitude of people. Or if I don't answer the phone, like it just, there is that high stress level. And then all of a sudden you go, oh my gosh, I can wake up at ish. I could go to the gym, I could walk my dogs, and you and I both have homes in the mountains, being able to break away and saying, I could disconnect. And it's so key. But the preparation, it's so important because we do see our law enforcement brothers and sisters suffer from chronic diseases that we've kind of pushed off because a lot of us don't go to the doctor every year, right? A lot of us just kind of say, oh yeah, I'll make that dental appointment when I'm off, during vacation, and it's like playing catch up. But I will tell you that in writing down, and a lot of times I write down my goals and what it is that I want to accomplish. And number one is my family. I want to be healthy for my family, right? In more ways than one. We want to be healthy from the neck up, like we talked about, but also physically being able to pick up our grandkids, right? Physically being able to travel with our family. Like my parents are in their 70s. So I am their care provider, right? I am the person who's there helping them make decisions, and all of that to say, like, we were in service of others. We now need to pivot into like, how are we going to be in service of ourselves? Not in a selfish way, but it really, you have to be, because you have to ask yourself, do you want your kids to remember healthy mom and dad? You want your parents to remember that you were there for them, like they were there for you, and then your siblings and everyone, all those healthy relationships, right? Because Kimberly, I'm so proud of our family. I think that's, you can spend all this time saying I was a badass something at work, right? But none of that has any meaning if it wasn't like where you come home and you can talk to your kids, you can talk to your mom and dad and not have resentment, right? All of those unresolved issues that we kind of, again, we push it, push it, push it. But I had such great advisors and mentors that I just adore, because they did tell me early on, it's okay to go to therapy. You were involved in a critical incident, you almost lost your life. You do need to talk to someone, because that bottled up tension opens up in a Pandora's box in an ugly way later on. So
Never get away from it. You have to deal with it.
yeah.
Absolutely. You said so much great stuff right there. And I like that because, there's some people, they're just successful, right? I mean, they're going to, no matter what they do in life, they're going to be successful. And I would like to think that we have some of that in us, right? I mean, we're scrappy survivors. We're going to make it work, But I also think that we need to acknowledge and have other women acknowledge that what they did in their careers, no matter what level they are, I am, a lieutenant talking to a chief, but you can do great things at whatever rank you're in
Right.
and become a leader in that rank, a leader in your community, a leader in your family. And what you learn from that will serve you if you let it, if you pay attention to it. And I think you hit the nail on the head also when you said, when you're making those mistakes and you learn from it, because as women especially, you know, we think, oh, I did something wrong, 15 years ago, and we're not letting ourselves be successful now because of that, and maybe potentially there's some women who hold mistakes against other women also, 27 years ago in the academy she did this, or whatever, and we're like, oh my gosh, but I like how you tied it all together of serving yourself, serving others, recognizing that you need to serve, and then continue going while acknowledging that family is important at the same time that the career is important. And, with my husband still working and still having a lot of contact with the police department and the community that we live in, I'm with a lot of officers I used to work around. And then I'm on Facebook. And so I get messages, a lot of people saying, thank you. They're not thanking me for the car chase. They're not thanking me for the foot chase. They're not thanking me for any of that stuff, right? They're
Mhm.
thanking me for listening to them. They're thanking me for stopping them when they're making a mistake. They're thanking me for leading the debt-free classes, the stuff that helped them be better men and women and better officers. And I think it's important that we acknowledge that because, like you said, it's nice to be the badass cop, right? I mean, we want to be the badass cop, but man, isn't it better to be a really good person, to be
Right.
a good I mean, what if you never get an award as an officer? You can still be the best wife around, the
Right.
best mother, the best neighbor. I mean, whatever it is that person wants to do, the best animal rescuer. I mean, whatever it is they want to do. So thank you for beautifully stating all of that. So the company, you and your husband have this awesome company, and you have so many opportunities to really um, open other first responders' eyes of possibilities for them and their department, especially when you mentioned organizational change. Is there one thing that you always say as soon as you get the chance? Is there one thing you always want to share with groups or individuals?
Yeah. Well, first of all, let me clarify something because my husband will be like, "Wait a minute, this is your company," because he works for this other extraordinary company.
Oh, cool. Okay.
But I will tell you that it has been through our conversations together that this baby grew, right? It's just having him there as support and guidance, and he's just an extraordinary human being that but yeah, he's always like, this is your baby, like, I'm working so we have worked collaboratively for years together. This will be the first time like I've actually branched out and started this company, right? And he just is constantly in support of it. So I just want to make sure I clarify this in our podcast because hopefully eventually maybe he'll come and do some keynote for this company, and because I think he's just that speaker. And any semblance of me being a good speaker is because he's coached me and he gives me really great feedback. And being married to another cop, right? Sometimes we don't accept that. But I will tell you that I look up to him when it comes to many, many different aspects of law enforcement, and any semblance of goodness in the work that we do. I contributed a lot to how we work together and support each other. So I will say
Yeah.
that.
No, but Chief, I think it's so important that, we give credit where credit is due, and it is your company, but we also want to honor your husband wanting to honor you because
For
he
sure.
knows how hard you're working. And then
Yeah.
I want to throw in that I think that my biggest supporter and one of the reasons why I have the success that I have is because of my husband really listening to me and, like calming me down sometimes. Um, and then offering these great ideas. I mean, like I'm like thinking about something and he's able to just tie it up and give it to me. So
Right.
yeah, I think we need
But
to.
what a blessing that is, right? Because I will tell you that someone said something to me which I thought was offensive at the time. And I still kind of do, but I'll share it. But I remember being in the parking lot of one of our stations, and this male supervisor colleague of mine said to me, he goes, "I really feel sorry for you ladies because like your options of like partners are kind of limited. And I said, what do you mean? And he's like, well, you kind of have to marry another cop so they understand like what you're going through. But I don't think that's gender based. I think that's also like, if you think about relationships, both male and female, it does require a special set of skills, right? Because there are times, probably more times than none, that we don't want to talk when we get home. We don't. We went through all day of like dealing with the madness and dealing with people and all the crazy, and then you get home and you're like, oh, well, my husband doesn't want to talk. I don't want to talk, but I don't take offense to it. I don't go like, "Oh my God, why does he want to talk to me?" Are there moments where like, "Hey, how was your day?" And we actually established a routine of communication that when we were driving home, we would talk. And then by the time we made it home, we were ready to like go read or go watch our favorite TV show. Like, and it was healthy, right? Because instead of like, I don't need to tell you about my day because, I watch horrific things and I just don't want to relive them. So I think that was really, really important. So all that to say, here we are back, in that portion of like starting a company, realizing like, number one, what do you value about your life, and what do people that reach out to you, do their values align with yours? Because now you get to make a choice who you want to work with and when do you want to work,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So, and you also said something about ranks. I am hands down like absolutely, rank means nothing when it comes to leadership. The best leaders are those right in the trenches, making decisions, making healthy decisions. Why? Because they know their people. So I say to all the leaders who are out there now, um, rely on the people that know your people, because you should be connected. You should know that Kimberly just had a baby, or Kimberly's child is sick, or, whatever it may be, because when people know you care about them, they don't look at the stars and the bars. They care about your heart. And so the company really focuses on leadership, like what that really means. I mean, I'm so passionate about it that I'm getting a doctorate in it, right? I really believe that structure in law enforcement needs to move away from paramilitary. I think it needs to be more collaborative. I think the ranks should all come together. Decisions should be made collaboratively so everyone has their own perspective. Because you and I both know when you're in operations and something needs to happen, everyone's set of lenses are so key, right? Now, obviously, when we're out in the field and we've got to make split-second decisions, you don't have time for that. But my hope is that with my company, and I've done this organizational structure, is that we get to the trust building so that we're out in the field and I tap you and I say, Kimberly, I need you to go down range and I need you to get cover on the right side, that you go, absolutely, I know exactly what I need to do, right? So all of that. And then also when we talk about employee wellness, right? So we did all that. So we did all the fun tactical stuff. But then now, like, how did we process that we just lost another human being, whether we had to take someone's life because they were hurting someone else, in preservation of other people's lives? All of that needs to be processed. And you need to go into debriefing, because the most important time of anybody's day is roll call and debriefing these incidents so that it doesn't create tension, it doesn't erode trust. You have to be able to really, really be a vulnerable leader at every rank. Because I literally will tell you that there are moments that I look back and I go, oof, I know I debriefed it, but I'm still feeling it. Like, because it falls on us. It falls on us. And like I said, pressure is privilege. I was blessed to have privilege for a very long time. And in one of the organizations that is constantly scrutinized, I say that LAPD is the best because I'm biased, right? In so many ways, but I'm biased because I know we made a lot of mistakes and that made us better as an organization, and more together, like collaboratively, and understanding why we need to keep moving that needle, because every day is an opportunity to get better, Yeah.
Absolutely. Again, so much in that. And yes, I do tend to gravitate towards people that, I like how they think or whatever. And so you hit the nail on the head on all that. Leadership at every level and given authority at every level, authority to the lowest level possible, and then feed into the individuals and support them. And if they make a mistake, you don't just cut them off at the knees, you find out why that happened. And it might have actually been exactly what needed to happen, but the outcome still was not what we needed. And then another thing that you said that I find so interesting is the statement, the potentially offensive statement about who are we going to marry. And I've had that conversation so many times, so many times. And my personal opinion, just from my life and from my girlfriends and a lot of my male friends, is it isn't that we as women aren't necessarily going to be able to marry somebody else outside of first responder world. But it's a lot of times those men on the outside of our world don't really know how to connect with us. We're doing more what is considered masculine, manly things than they're doing. And, we've had a lot of conversations of problems with that about how the female can, honor the man. And we are talking male-female relationships here. And I know there's a whole plethora of other relationships that are out there, and I'm not trying to disrespect those, but these conversations have been the male female thing. The woman, the dating isn't going well because the civilians that she's dating don't like what she's doing at work.
Right.
So it's very interesting. And I think we have a lot of room in that to support women when they're making their decisions, and also making sure that we invite these younger women to be careful what they ask for. Careful what you ask for. You and I want all these young women to really enjoy their younger years, enjoy their career, enjoy their travel, do all the rest of that stuff, but just be careful what you ask for. If you're asking for this man to be the big badass on the streets and all the rest of that stuff, what might you get? I mean, what might you get if you don't allow them to be the other things they need to be as humans, the things that you and I need to be as women, as first responders and as women? It's very interesting. I would love to have another conversation with that.
Yeah, we opened up a different
Yeah,
podcast, right? But
yeah,
it is very true though. I mean, you think about what relationships are like. I've been married to my husband for a very long time. I told him when I married him, "You're it. This is not the starter husband for me. This is gonna be the husband," right? But I also, we communicate all the time. If something isn't feeling right, if I'm feeling like I'm tired, or he's very conscientious of like giving me my space, more so than me. I'm more like, what's wrong, like, what can I do for you, can I make you some, I'm very nurturing, right? So he just also needs his space as well, but it's very normal, especially coming off of a career where it was a go go go, and then you have to think about, like, it was a go 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 and you have kids,
yes.
right?
And
And you
how
have
did
a
we do it?
family, all the dynamics, right? And
Yeah.
so I look at it as we're so proud of these two amazing women, because we're like, oh my God, I'm glad we didn't, excuse my language, fuck you guys up, right? Like, I'm so glad we didn't, we had to do like co-parenting and all sorts of things, that's some moving parts.
Yes.
But my hopes has always been, and I've shared this just recently, was all I care about is that I was a good human to you. All I care about is that when you needed me, I was there. And that's to my entire family, not just because we are blessed. He's the baby of 10. So, on the Burke side, and then on my side, with my nephews and nieces, is am I available to them,
Yeah.
right? When they need me, because we sure are available at work for everyone, right? But now it's this blessing to be as young as I am, and I'm so thankful that I can do these trips and jump on a plane and go see whoever I need to see, and I'm gonna come to see you in the mountains, because but just being able to give back to the people who have been there in support of your career and understood when you couldn't be there at Christmas, or you couldn't be there on on the actual birthday. Like, my mom got used to both my mom and dad, more my mom, but she got used to like Mother's Day and birthdays and all sorts of things not being on the
Yeah.
day, right?
Yeah.
Same with the kids, right? It's like, hey, Easter's next Sunday, not this Sunday. So just know, like, you're gonna get the like. It just
But
works
you
out
made
that
it
way.
work. You made it
Yeah,
work because the
right,
statement was the day itself doesn't matter, but you, my son or my mother or my sister or, my niece, you're what matters. Like
right.
my husband and I, and it's so funny because you mentioned, the two cell phones and the this and the that and everything.
The call outs.
Four cell phones and ours, four,
Yeah,
my two and his two. And I mean, I still, every time I've been retired 4.5 years, and every time the phone rings, I'm like, what is it? Like,
yeah.
you're getting called in and people are like, what are you talking about? I'm like, because we're
Or the
fixing
ghost calls when
getting
you first give it up, right? You're like, did I miss a call? Like,
exactly. Where's
and
my
like, wait,
phone?
I'm not there anymore, just like,
I would
yeah.
come home because I'm driving and I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't have my city phone. And I would turn around to start. I'm like, wait a minute, I don't have a city phone anymore. Emails to this day, I'm still like, I have another email. I don't have a city email account anymore, but I'm like, oh, I have
Yeah,
to check. It's crazy. But
right.
people in our lives know that they are the ones that matter. So we kind of, to paraphrase it, we would like, we put the power where it belongs, which is the relationship,
Yep.
not the actual date.
Yeah,
And you don't let any of that drama in. None of that drama gets to come in. But
right,
we also have to, like I've said this many times, my children knew that I was at any and every game, practice, competition. And if I wasn't there, I absolutely flat could not be there.
right.
Never put an extra job in front of them, never did anything like that. And I look back now, city of Dallas, they don't give a rat's ass that I was there for 30 years, right? I am just, you know, if you don't die on duty, you're whatever, you're just gone, right? So, but my
Yeah,
children and my marriage,
yeah.
you know, my
And
women's groups.
and to that, Kimberly, something that I'll talk to you about and your audience is that it's not that the department doesn't care about you, is that they're genuinely so happy that you're on the other side that they don't they honestly, people think you're having this fabulous time and you're like just get like they're envious of where you are. And I've heard that from my colleagues, like, oh, like that's so great, like that you've moved on and you're doing all these great, like they're very in support. And I get pulled into certain things still, but what I've heard very often is that they're like, oh my God, that's where I want to be. Like, I want to be I want to be the check of the month club. I want to, but not realizing that once you become the check of the month club, you still are looking for a purpose because you've had it for so long, right? So yes, you will do nothing for a little bit because my husband's like, oh yeah, whenever that happens, he's like, I'm just gonna do nothing for a whole year, and I'm like, yeah, good luck with that. Because again, we're wired differently. We just are. You're going to write a book, or you're gonna go do keynotes, or you're gonna, because although you're retired, you're not expired. So
Right? And we're
like
young.
that's
Young.
like my
Yeah.
new
Yeah.
yeah, I've been
Yeah.
telling everybody, I'm like, just know that you have to plan. Like
Mhm.
what is that thing or multiple things that you want to do when you do not have to
Yeah.
go in and clock in, right? Which is a blessing.
Yes, definitely. I
Yeah,
like to think that our departments, I like to think that we mattered very much and we were
of
there.
course.
Our
Oh my gosh.
jobs, we served well, but I
Yeah.
know that when I would get moved, like I would get transferred or some of my people would transfer out, whether they promoted or retired or transferred or whatever,
Mhm.
you know, I was thankful for them, but I immediately had the next thing to do. I
Yeah,
immediately had the next thing to do,
right.
and I think we have to recognize that. We need to
Mhm.
not discount that we not state emphatically that we don't matter because that's a negative energy.
Oh no, it's
We
like
have
so
to
not
say
true.
when you're planning your life, you need to put it into the right level of care.
Right.
Don't put it first. You put it farther down. But
Right.
you and I said, and it might have been before we started recording, that when you're at work, you give 1,000%.
Yeah.
And when the people around you know that, and when the person, that your commander that you report to, whatever, when they know that you were there 1,000%, I think they're very supportive of you taking off. They're supportive of you saying, hey, something came up, I got to do it. Because you give
Right.
1,000%. But
Yeah.
we are coming close to your end, it looks
Yes.
like. So, and
So
I want,
podcast 1, podcast 2.
yes, and you've got great things to do.
Yeah.
So, so many people you're helping still.
Yeah,
Is there
I love
anything
it.
you want to say before we tie this up today? Any little nugget you want to share?
I think the thing I want to leave everybody with is that every one of us is accessible. Don't go at this journey alone. So if you're listening to this podcast and you're in your, 10th year, your 3rd year, whatever year you are, create a village of people who are going to support you along the way. And even when you're about to retire, like put us together and we'll jump on a Zoom wherever we are and then we'll just go along the ride with you, because I think we don't do that enough for each other. We really don't. And I just want to extend that part of me, is that I will make myself available. I don't care what time it is, to be there, because you will come down from your fight or flight or a major incident and you need someone outside your organization that understands what you do and is just going to be an ear
Mhm.
to listen, someone who's going to listen and then guide you through that. So from this, you are getting a village. This podcast is about creating that village.
Yes. Thank you so much. And I will have your contact information and I'm just going to copy word per word your bio and I will put it
You
in the
don't have
notes.
to do that. Just
I
quick. Listen, I had a great career. They can ask me
would.
about it. We could talk about it. But, I'm just so blessed. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll talk soon.
Okay.
Bye.